Welcome back to Turkish series stars. I hope your day is going beautifully, because we need to talk about something that's been buzzing through Turkish entertainment circles non-stop. You've seen the title, you've seen the whispers, and yes, we're going there. We're unpacking the talk swirling around Yaman and Demet Özdemir, the rumors, the reactions, the silences that said too much, and the moments that fans are still replaying and dissecting frame by frame. Settle in, because we're going to walk through how this all unfolded and why it's still the conversation people can't stop having. Let's get straight into it. The pair who stole hearts in Turkish, that runaway phenomenon that turned late nights into watch parties and strangers into shippers, found themselves swept into a tide of speculation about a relationship that may have nudged beyond the boundaries of professional friendship. The story didn't break with a bang. It started as so many modern storms do, with small, persistent waves. A few months back, images began trickling into timelines, casual snippets from sets and behind-the-scenes corridors, moments that felt warmer than a co-star bond. Some said it was just the spell of two actors with impossible chemistry. Others insisted the glances were lingering, the smiles a shade too private. And because it was Can and Demet, because their on-screen spark as Can and Sanam once felt like a revelation. Fans were ready to believe lightning can strike twice. At first, people chalked it up to nostalgic glow. Anyone who watched the series remembers it, the looks that turned into moments, the banter that turned into tenderness, the way their characters seemed to understand each other without words. When fiction grabs your heart, it can make real life feel like an open door. But then the narrative edged into deeper waters. Claims surfaced from alleged witnesses, conversations supposedly leaked from group chats, comments that appeared to belong to friends of friends, the kind of whispers that say they were at the same place, same table, same hour and ask you to fill in the blanks. Suddenly there were murmurs of late dinners and early morning exits, of shared cars, shadowy corners, and, most telling to some eyes, visible discomfort when the press lobbed pointed questions at red carpets and event lines. That's when the word scandal started echoing. But what makes a rumor become a scandal? In a celebrity landscape where love stories are currency and on-screen romance bleeds into fan fantasies, the answer is often expectations. People want the fairy tale to be real. And people also don't want anyone to get hurt. Because while many fans cheered the idea of Can and Demet finally turning a scripted love into the real thing, others worried about timing, about boundaries, about promises made outside the limelight. Some argued it was none of anyone's business, others said the moment two stars share a screen, they're never quite invisible again. Then came the accusations that shifted the tone from dreamy to divisive. Whispers that their closeness overlapped with Demet's then relationship, that feelings were blooming while ties hadn't fully been untied. That suggestion, not proven but potent, poured fuel on everything. Social media did what it always does. It turned into a courtroom without walls. Threads sprawled. Comment sections burst with declarations. There were defenders who said, "Let them live, let them love," and there were critics who shot back, lines were crossed, and demanded accountability. Can's name trended, then Demet's, then both together and separately, as fans parsed tone, posture, and the kind of subtle non-answers that public figures train themselves to deliver. It was as if every clip became evidence and every silence a confession. And the press? They took the hint and ran with it. Gossip programs splashed headlines across bright screens. What really happened, and are they hiding in plain sight? Papers and portals claimed to have sources, always unnamed, always compelling, always just vague enough to drive the conversation forward without having to prove anything. Photos from events were poured over like coded messages. A glance, a step, a mic-held pause, it all became raw material for people looking for certainty in a story that refused to confirm itself. Under that glare, both of them played a careful game. They didn't rush to set the record straight. They didn't deny, they didn't confirm. They smiled when they had to, ducked when they could, and let the public imagine the rest. That choice, as anyone who follows celebrity tides knows, only made the waves higher. The speculation kept rolling until the development that changed everything. Word broke that Demet had ended her relationship. It was reported as a private decision, and yet it was treated like a public event. For many, it read as coded verification that the rumors had a heartbeat. For others, it was a reminder that relationships can end for 1,000 reasons that have nothing to do with what people assume from the outside. Still, the timing was enough to make even cautious onlookers lean in closer. Not long after, Demet addressed the noise, not by painting a picture of a new romance, but by drawing a boundary. In her statement, she emphasized that she was single, that she was not in a relationship, and that her life, despite the spotlight, needed oxygen and quiet. She asked for privacy and asked that people extend kindness to those who sometimes find themselves dragged into stories they didn't volunteer to tell. It was the kind of message that can mean everything and nothing, depending on who's listening. Can, for his part, stayed even more circumspect. He let appearances do the talking, and even then, only sometimes. A shared laugh here, an unguarded moment there, enough to make a collage if you wanted to, never enough to claim certainty if you didn't. Here's what makes all of this so distinctly modern. The rumor mill isn't just fast. It's interactive. It's not just the tabloids deciding what the story is anymore, it's every account with a following, every fan with a thread, every bystander with a video. The line between witness and audience member blurs until anyone holding a phone can play both roles. And when the crowd tunes in with a preconceived script that Can and Demet are meant to be, that Can and Demet should be together, that Can and Demet owe us a confession or a denial, the pressure becomes a character in the story. The narrative starts to feel inevitable even if real life is still deciding what it wants to be. And yet, despite everything, one thing didn't change. Their star power stayed intact. For some people, the rumors only made their work more magnetic. Clips from Erkenci Kuss resurfaced, lovingly edited and soundtracked, old scenes watched as if they were new, as if hindsight could turn fiction into proof. People wrote essays about the way an on-screen gaze can travel across years. Others rolled their eyes and said, "It's acting, that's the job," but still, they clicked and watched and waited. Their individual projects kept moving, their names kept drawing attention, their appearances kept trending. The conversation never quite left the room, even when both of them seemed determined not to feed it. Which leads us to the essential truth we can't gloss over. Until the people at the center of a rumor step forward with a clear yes or no, what we have is air and imagination. Now, imagination is powerful, it fuels shows, fan art, fanfic, rewatch culture, all the things that make screen stories feel like home. But it can also overwhelm the people we say we care about. When strangers decide they know your heart better than you do, it can make even a simple walk outside feel like a performance. Both Can and Demet have been open in past interviews about the intensity of public attention, about how heavy it can get when personal questions outnumber professional ones. This episode only sharpened that edge. There are lessons here, if we want them. The first is that a celebrity's life is a tightrope between a public's desire to participate and the person's need to keep something just for themselves. The second is that the screen's magic is powerful enough to leap into real life, or to make us believe it has, which, for all intents and purposes, can feel the same. The third is that the media ecosystem today can take a whisper and turn it into a thunderclap, sometimes accurately, often not. Every amplified guess shapes reputations in ways that are hard to undo later, and the truth, when it finally arrives, rarely makes as big a splash as the speculation that preceded it. But here's what's certain, whether you're a romantic or a skeptic. Yaman and Demet Özdemir are artists with the kind of presence that doesn't come around often. Their work electrified audiences across languages and borders, pulling new viewers into Turkish series and making the rest of the world understand why so many of us stay up long past midnight for a good story. Whatever is or isn't true about what happened off camera, that achievement stands. Their dedication, the way they build characters that feel like the friend you needed or the love you hoped to find, that is real, and it's why their names still light up a room. So if we gather everything that's been said and done into one place, here's the cleanest way to tell it. Rumors took root about a relationship between Can and Demet, powered by flashes of closeness and the enduring glow of their legendary on-screen chemistry. Those whispers escalated when people pointed to timelines and suggested boundaries might have blurred while Demet was still publicly partnered. The discourse became heated, the media amplified every angle, and then news landed that her relationship had ended. She later stated she was single and asked for her privacy to be respected. He remained careful, present when he chose, quiet when it counted. The outcomes? No official confirmation, no definitive denial, but a continuing fascination that says the public isn't done wondering. Their careers stayed strong. Their story, or the dream of it, kept breathing in the spaces between statements. And maybe that's the point all along. Some stories live in the might have been, in the glances that ask more than they tell. Maybe everyone sees what they want to see when two people carry that kind of electricity. Maybe the truth is more ordinary and less cinematic than we hope. Or maybe reality has been writing a slower script, one that only they get to reveal when and if they want. Either way, this moment will linger in the archive of unforgettable pop culture conversations, the time when two stars chased by their own chemistry became the center of 1,000 living room debates. As always, you know this is Turkish series Stars, where we follow the talk, ask the careful questions, and keep the love of the craft at the center. Now it's your turn. What do you make of this? Do you think the smoke means there was a fire, or do you think the crowd was just seeing sparks where there were none? Do you believe private life should be ring-fenced no matter how bright the spotlight gets? Tell us below. We read everything, we weigh every angle, and we love hearing how you see it. If you enjoyed spending this time with us, tap like, share this with friends who still melt at the mention of Can and Sanam, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you never miss what's next. Your support keeps this conversation alive, and we're grateful for every second you spent here. Until the next video, take care of yourselves, and keep your heart open to great stories, wherever they choose to unfold.